Hello, and thank you everyone for joining today's webinar from Sageti on how to win in the new world of IoT and connected products. IoT is not a recent phenomenon, but what is new is it's now working hand in hand with other transformative technologies like artificial intelligence and the cloud. This is fueling the convergence of verticals such as industrial, IoT, smart cities and buildings, and the connected home, and its increasing competitiveness. This is why we're bringing this webinar to you today on how to win in this ever-competitive world of IoT. I'm Shauna Upton from the Global Marketing team at Sageti, and before we get started, I wanted to mention a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We've taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. You're listening in by using your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, then just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the question pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to introduce you to today's speakers. Over the next 35 to 40 minutes, you will hear from Sandeep Sachiva, Mayank Saxena, and Ulf Axelsson. So our first speaker today is Sandeep. Sandeep is the Vice President and the Global Head of Analytics and Cognitive Services here at Sageti. He's a technology enthusiast with over 20 years of experience in the IT industry, with his current focus on AI and analytics. His experience spans several different sectors, including retail, oil and gas, medical, automotive, manufacturing, and banking, and insurance. While he has helped several companies in leveraging data and business intelligence capabilities, he now focuses on ensuring that they drive value from newer AI technologies. These include machine learning, deep learning, blockchain, chatbots, AR, and VR. He believes in delivering value to the end customer and their happiness through hardware and software as one-point solution. So over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Shauna. I am super excited to be with all of you. I mean, this is amazing when you get the opportunity to talk about two mega trends that are happening today in the industry. One is AI and the other one is IoT. And several analysts are talking about AI getting to a market of roughly around 36 billion in a few years, and IoT heading to 1.4 trillion in the next few years. What we are seeing today is a convergence of that trend. And the convergence of that trend is coming from the benefit of connected products. And AI and IoT together are significantly impacting any and every vertical that exists out there. We have two really good speakers lined up for you. They will talk about connected products as well as the wisdom of connected products. I will introduce the second speaker first. It's Ulf Axelsson. He is the Director of Digital Business Architecture. He's responsible for the platform and building out the digital DevOps organization that includes helping build the solutions and the services. He will touch on how to win in the world of connected products. We have our first speaker, Mayank Saxena, who is the Chief Software Architect at Norton Security Platforms. He has held several engineering management positions at companies such as Microsoft and HP, and he is going to give us the wisdom of connected products. With that, I'll hand over to Mayank.
All right, thanks, Sandeep. All right, so this is before we start, this is a polling question for all of us, and so please go ahead and select your answer, and then I'll start my talk after this. Well, that's really encouraging to see all the answers around machine learning, and NLP is clearly the winner of today. And definitely, I'm going to touch upon these things in my talk. Uh, all right. So I will first go through the quick overview of what we do in Nortek Security and Control, and then we touch upon the wisdom of connected products, how we are approaching the this whole convergence of the IoT and future technologies. All right, perfect. So Nortek Security and Control is, we are headquartered in Carlsbad, California. We have more than 2,000 employees and over 200 engineers. And overall, we have 50 years of experience with wireless and security products, um, with 7 development centers across US, Russia, China, and India. So we are a global company with lots of different product verticals. Um the success of these brands, what we have led us to proven leadership experience in the exploding market of IoT. As you can see, we have over 4 million security and control systems, 4 million cellular devices, 1 million Z-Wave automation devices, and over 25 million sensors. NSC is a clear market leader in one of those world's most exciting technology spaces for which we are here today. Right. So connected solutions. This is very dear to us. As you can see, we have multiple brands and they are market leader in their own sense. We create product that protect and enhance the lives of residential and commercial customers. Majorly, we have 5 categories: smart home group, which delivers the high-end whole home controls; health and wellness solution, to help millions of seniors to live safer and stay in the homes that they love. Security channel, uh, 2GIG is the largest brand of all-in-one security today. And then we have video analytics and our AI through our intelligent group. And in access, we are the leading manufacturer of small to mid-sized access control products. And how we are connecting all these products to combine into a one ecosystem, that is the most exciting part, which I'm going to touch upon. All right. So before we start, I just want to make sure that we are um, grounding with the definition of IoT and what is connect and what is ecosystem means. So I will talk about that. What are the different layers and verticals of the platform we have today, and what we are and where we have to go. What are the challenges to build those verticals and layers and technical stack, and then emphasis on user experience, how that matters when we are architecting the whole ecosystem, and how this whole product roadmap uh, leverages the future technologies like AI and cognitive computing and blockchain. All right. So why not IoT? So sometimes I specifically call IoT as the islands of things just to make my point. From Internet of Things to island of things, what I mean by is industry is making a lot of smart products, a lot of smart things, but they are today, if you look at it, all of these products are basically islands. They're not connected to each other. They're not providing seamless user experience uh, to consumers. So the approach what we take is there's no island of things. Whatever we make or whatever we have in our product has to be connected, and not just with our products, but with the industry, with our partners, with our competitors, so that at the end it's the user who gets us user experience of those connected things. So that's a ground rule number one, what we follow, no islands of things. Again, things or internet does not matter in IoT, but why those things exist in terms of the use case from the user, that's what we care about. And how we can smartly connect those things with the aggregation of data, we can have a better decision. When we have those things connected, it provides a mechanism to provide natural experience. And an aggregation does not mean only at the cloud, how we can do the aggregation at the edge itself to leverage the potential of the real IoT, what we call a fog computing. All right. I'm trying to get to my next slide. So what is connectivity? Connectivity, when we define connectivity, it's just not the how many things are connected and how they are connected versus what's the content which flows through that connectivity. So the whole point is not the connectivity itself, but how we come up with the ecosystem which connects all those things together and build the business model around the information which flows to that connection, to that pipe, and then what's the user experience for those for the users with the connected things and that information. And when we have this connected ecosystem, it should be configurable such that when we integrate more products, it provides more dynamic value, and we can change things around. We can adopt new technologies going forward, and at the same time, all the stakeholders in that connected world should be able to share the product value. We all have different products, but when we connect to each other, how we can share that product value, that's how we're going to expand this whole convergence trend, what we're looking at. All right. So what does it take to build such a connected world? So first I'm going to talk about the layers when we approach such a product. Here I have 4 major layers. I'll start from the bottom, which is what we have today generally, what we call the base product, the base IoT product, hardware, sensors, and various CPUs and VPUs. On the product software side, you have OS and embedded and UI. But then there's another layer now, which is catching up fast, is what we call edge or the on-prem. And the connectivity provides a way so that this whole edge can be separated out the base product. And this edge, what it has is basically how it can aggregate the data in the edge software, how we can implement the rules and value engine so that we do analytics at the edge and figure out what better cognitive services we can provide without going out to the local network. And then next layer is the connectivity. Whenever we are designing a product, we need to make sure that what's the use case? Is it a high bandwidth IP network or low bandwidth cellular all the time? And then at the cloud, we have the product data layer, basically DB systems which enable aggregation, and normalization, and management of real-time and historical product data. The product platform is basically a dynamic environment which enables the rapid creation of smart business applications using data accesses and runtime tools. And then on top, we have this machine learning analytics engine, AI, which basically runs across this enormous data coming from different devices. That's what we call product platform. And on top, we have the apps, which basically are more or less a data ops, which provide the feedback loop to our machine learning and AI layer. So this is what the product layers are. Now, if we talk about the verticals, whenever we are designing such product, connected product, we need to make sure that it's highly secured and it run across all the layers, right, from cloud to the connectivity to the base and the base product and the edge, and how we can consume external information, connecting to other ecosystem, like taking the weather information, um, taking commodity information or social media, how we can absorb that information to our different layers, and also providing the various web and mobile apps for the users, uh, cutting across all these layers. And on the right, uh, I have verticals for partnering with similar organizations who are developing similar products, where we need to talk to their products. And first thing we need to do for that kind of integration is to establish a trust and identity. And that's where we are looking at block technologies, how we can two devices from two different um, trust world, how we can ensure those are the real devices we are talking to. Once that connection is established, how we can provide the BI services, not to just ourselves, but to a bigger ecosystem. And obviously integrating with the third-party products. And all this enables us to create a value chain between us and various partners we are working with, where we can share the product value. So this is the overall product layers and verticals we look at whenever we are designing a new product. So what are the main challenges? So main challenges today's device is not designed to be connected. They are meant for being operational in their own sense. When we approach connected products, the data interoperability is very important, like which protocols, which data models and semantics. Also, when we are looking at the product, the ecosystem should not be product specific, but it should be application specific. So how to make this, all these layers be more application and human aware versus the product specific. And while we are making those decisions, we have to make some strategic choices. Like we need to go out of our comfort, what's our traditional capabilities and what's our traditional products are, and how we can embed these new technology stack with analytics layers running across the layers, which are sometimes running legacy products, legacy hardware. And also very important when we collect the data is we collect the value data. It's very easy to collect lots of data, but how we can do a data collection in a smarter way at the fog and at the edge, and then pushing it to the cloud. And more importantly, when we are designing all these products, all this value data, what we are collecting, how we can feed it back to our product to provide a better support after the sale of the product. So this is also a challenge, but at the same time, it's a very good added benefit with the connected world. All right, and another most important aspect when we talk about the connected product, and it's one of the major points in the wisdom of connected product, is the user experience. We need to design the product with a natural experience, which should work locally as well, extendable with the integration what we have today versus what we're going to have tomorrow. So scalability needs to be there in the user experience itself. Feeling of security. That's what users really care about. And it should be something like a nutrition labels. Unfortunately, today we don't have a mechanism, but as an industry, we need to work out a way where users can easily see when they buy a food, right? They can see on the nutrition levels what kind of ingredients or what kind of breakup they have in terms of carbs or proteins. Similarly, when they buy a product, they should be able to see what level of security they get. And the user experience should make the life better of the user, and it should not be just a user interface for our product. And when we design this user experience, it should be improvisation based on the various data points we gather at the runtime. All right. So how are we leveraging all these new technologies, given the ground rules we have, like deep learning and cognitive computing and blockchain? The important things are we need to learn context beyond the things what we have. It goes back to my previous slide where we have we absorb the external information sources, connect to other things, and when we design a product, it should be, and when we gather the data, it should be high quality data, which is application specific. And when we are connecting all these devices, it's very important to have those devices, when they serve a user experience, should be autonomous, and that's where the cognitive computing, that's what we are highly leveraging to build on top of it. And in fact, as Sandeep also mentioned, the convergence of the AI and IoT, that's where we are trying to provide a much more autonomous and much more cognitive experience to our connected devices. Similarly, when we talk about data streams, this is the value we have, right? So while we have the ownership of data stream, we need to figure out how we can exchange the value or share the value of those data streams with our bigger partners or even competitors. And then build the trust between the devices. That's where blockchain comes in. But again, blockchain is a very broad aspect and broad topic, maybe a discussion for another day. But how we can use the block-based architecture modified for IoT. And while we are doing all this, we always need to be mindful that edge will always be a limitation. Even though it's hardware resources and computer resources going up, the applications are getting heavier and heavier. So we always need to be mindful of that while we're looking at all these new technologies. With that, so basically the two key takeaways: design for ecosystem, not for product. And in connected product, user experience matters, not the interface. And with that, I will pass it on to Ulf for much more exciting talk he's going to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayank. See if I get control of the presentation here. Yes, I do. So Ulf Axelsson is my name. Work for Husqvarna Group, and let's starting with polling question first. Interesting result. I agree with what you have chosen. To be honest, I think that still the user experience is what create the end customer value mostly, and of course interoperability is really important to enable that. Seamless connectivity and privacy security is enabler, so that is maybe not what the end customer asking for initially. So Husqvarna Group is a company in the area of green spaces management and construction equipment, and we have a long history of innovation and product. The company is actually more than 325 years old, and during this journey, it has changed focus quite a lot. But what is in common is that it has been a product manufacturing company. And what we are seeing now is that we have a huge shift toward solution and services, that we are shifting away from product, and now the focus is solution and services. A lot of different trends are affecting us, everything from the shift from petrol to battery. We have the robotic technologies, but not at least the digital transformation with big data and connectivity. And what we have done is, based on this, a deep dive into how this will affect the company and what we need actually to be relevant for the future. So in this work for the 2020 strategy that we have performed a couple of years ago, we found out that it is a couple of areas that we need to change. And the first one is the channels, that today we normally have middleman between us and the end customer, but going digital, it means that we need to have direct end customer interaction. This especially to provide a more personalized experience to our customer. We are a manufacturing of hardware, but in the future and now we also need to become a software company in parallel. And as I said before, the shift towards solutions services is rapid. So we will not become only a product delivery in the future. We need to providing solutions. And regarding channels, it's equal that the traditional channels will change, and we will have a multi-channel need to be present in the digital channels. And an enabler for this is, of course, digitalization and connectivity that will be the base actually to creating this new type of services. We have, for the couple of years, a lot of digital initiatives ongoing in the group, and of course, a long roadmap of new initiatives. But to do this in silos, that will create a lot of lock-in effects. And of course, if we want to proceed and provide a seamless experience to our customers with new opportunities in the future, we need to handling this in common. Therefore, our strategy and approach have been to build a common platform. We call it the digital service platform for the group. So that consists of all types of interfaces for all types of channels. It consists of a standard regarding how we are connecting our products and pairing of products. But as well, also we need to secure that we are able to produce and manufacturing the connected devices, and that is very special. But to identify and working with traceability, configuration control, this type of things we address also in the platform. And then finally, also we found out that we can't build upon the enterprise systems that we have. Therefore, this is the connectivity point also to our internal processes like CRM, configuration management, e-commerce functionalities, and so forth. We have a couple of foundational pillars in our strategy. I will not go so deeply into technologies, but some of this is very important. So from the beginning, we decided that we need to build for what we call the API economy with open interfaces. We can't build locked in solutions without interfaces. We need to open up our data and our services much more, especially to enable interoperability, new innovation with other companies, and so forth. So everything that we are doing in our platform is based on open APIs. The other thing is connectivity. We see that all of our products needs to be connected. So to setting a standard for connectivity for the group and securing that we have a plan and roadmap actually to make all our products connected. And then finally, AI or data-driven services, that everything that we are doing is to preparing for the next level of digitalization, where we also applying AI to delivering more added values to the customer. So built for AI, that is the third pillars that we are working with. And the fourth is cloud. That now we talk about scaling up, but as well also scaling down solutions. We can't do this in the traditional way. Therefore, we said that we need to go cloud 100%. So everything that we have done today and will do will be cloud enabled from the beginning. So no internal investment, only technologies based on open cloud or public cloud solutions. That is our 4 pillars. We saw that to execute on this strategy, we were not organized to managing this. For example, our IT organization focusing on the legacy and the business was focusing on product R&D. So what we very early did, what we created, what we call the DevOps organization. Small teams responsible both for development and operations of the solutions or services that we are providing. And this has been the foundation also for partnership and driving the development for the group. Regarding ideation and the strategy as such, we also put in place what we call a connectivity hub, or basically a virtual organization with the responsibility from different functions in the group together to be the owner of the roadmap and working with the ideation of what type of application we should put in place for the future. So cross-functional teams, DevOps teams for development and operations. And then also we talk quite a lot in Husqvarna regarding speed and speed to market. That this is so important to release and deploy new solutions fast. And the way that we worked before didn't support that. So we applied Agile methodology 100%, and we have the thinking about MVP or minimal viable product. So we are releasing continuously new services, but focusing on the MVP. That means that we faster could go to market with new application and releasing new services continuously. Another pillar regarding this is development optimization, going cloud and securing that we are managing security as well as testing, deployment, and so forth. Automation of this process is really, really important. And we're also talking about common services, and the idea behind this is to providing standardized functionality that could be reused into different go-to-market concepts. This is not solutions, this is services, and this is built upon microservice technologies that is easier to redo and replace if new opportunities or new services arise on the market. So this was what we have done so far regarding connectivity and API. To go into data-driven services and AI, to working with this, we need data. And we saw that we do not have data in all areas. So we needed to starting to collect these data sets and data points quite fast. But we also saw that there is a lot of data available in the market. So the idea was, what could we do for brand position, working with customer relation, as well as new revenue streams based on data. Maybe also without going through the connectivity first, but because that will take time. But we found out in this work that we can't be organized as we have been when we talk about connectivity with DevOps. Now suddenly we need to involve the customer early. We need to test concepts. We need to gathering information faster to be able to build new analytics functionality. So what we have done in our strategy is to put in place an AI labs a concept that will enable us to test new ideas and concepts to the market. We have a sandbox environment that we could apply on startups, on partnership, but as well as academy or universities. But we also see that we need a new organization. So in this area, we have 3 core teams. One that is the owner of the data, what we call the big data operation team, basically owning the technology part of the big data solution, but also data governance. We have the ideation and research team working internally as well as externally with the portfolio of ideation, with data scientists that produce new ideas and testing new ideas. But when we have taken an idea into production, we have this, what I call here, startup teams or scale out teams. That is the owner of the new solution that will scale it out and securing that it's maintained and developed in a good way before we can hand it over to the traditional organization. So this will drive our next level of the digital strategy to enable services to supporting our brand position as well as creating new revenue streams. During this journey so far, we have done a lot of different learnings, of course. For example, the need of customer interaction and working in an ideal way, using cross-functional teams for ideation, security, that will always be the top agenda. But I would say in the end that my 2 key takeaways from this session is that when going digital and preparing for digital and preparing for the future, think platform. Don't allow silo development. Go platform, because that will open up and enable more services and interoperability between services for the future. And the other thing regarding speed and agility, focusing on minimal viable product. Do not create new solution. Create stepwise solution that could go to market faster and therefore also supporting the business and testing much more than going fully with a full solution all the time. Thank you, and I hand over again to Sandeep.
Thank you, Wolf, and thank you, Mayank, for taking the time. So let me quickly summarize what we've heard today, right? So we've heard from 2 different organizations. And again, like I said, this is super exciting times to be in. So what we have heard is to be successful in this connected products, in this AI journey, it's mainly about 4 things, right? From what I've heard. One is that when you design your products, when you design the connected products, user experience and a seamless natural experience, like Mayank talked about, is key. The second thing is that the promise of technology today is in creating win-win-win scenarios. It's about deriving value at every single touch point and every single interaction that happens. So having that connectivity and having that data aggregation capability is going to be key. The third thing is making sure that you have the right digital platform, right? You're collecting the right data set and it is of good quality. And then the last thing is ensure that your organization is aligned in the right way of working to make this possible. We've seen example of that from a 300-year-old organization that is moving into the concept of AI labs, that is bringing in the partners, academia into building out the ideation as well as the research part of it. So with that, I'll hand over to Shauna for Q&A.
Thanks, Sandeep. So now we're going to go begin answering some questions that were submitted today during the presentation. And just as a reminder, you can still submit questions to the question pane in your attendee control panel. So I think the first question that we got was for you, Mayank. Could you touch upon how the internal teams here at Sageti have impacted your connected product or AI journey?
Yeah, sure. Remember we talked about the layers and verticals. So Sageti and Capgemini definitely is helping us on those cloud layer, building those layers more seamless and enabling us to be provide better connected solutions. And I must add it's a quite a journey for us as well, being this software transformation from the industry leading brands to a connected software and the AI layer. Yeah, it's exciting.
Great. So in the Husqvarna case, I think this is for you, Ulf. How is offshore India enabled in a DevOps agile setup as discussed by Ulf?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
How is offshore enabled in the DevOps agile setup as discussed by you in your presentation?
It's a good question. We are using offshore resources, but the answer is that the idea of DevOps is co-location. So normally what we are doing is locate them in the same location. So when we're starting up working with offshore resources, we're actually taking them to Sweden for a couple of months to introduce them to the team so that they have the networking, and then they could go back and by that securing that we have a close relationship to the team. Then we always have one person from the offshore team in each DevOps team that is a focal point and responsible for the work that is done in the offshore team. So that is how we are working today, and it works really well.
Great. I think there's one other question for you, Ulf. Where and how does security come into the picture for the connected products?
Regarding security, and that is one of the reasons why we are building platform, is that we will minimize the footprint by doing, say, silo solutions. So we are building security by design, and we are using also frameworks like OpenSAM to securing that we also could measure security and the quality of code continuously. So that is built into the process.
Interesting. A question for you, Mayank. What do you see as the impact of edge computing?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question, because this is the journey we are taking as we speak. It impacts all the way from the engineering resources to the product capability, the way we design our product. And what I mean by that is when we talk about edge, we cannot replace the edge in one day. We need to coexist with what we have today in the edge while we talk about the connected world. So how the smarter edge, so to say, can connect to a dumber edge. So when we design a product, that thinking needs to be there. It needs to be an integral part of the whole product designing. The whole development model needs to be taken care of when we talk about it. Obviously, and this does help on the overall expenses on the economy side of thing as well, while you're operating a lot of things on the cloud, that general perception. At the same time, when you focus on edge, it doesn't come for free, right? So all the design consideration needs to be taken into place, and that's I think that's an impact, or that's a change which not just us but everyone is seeing today.
Very good. And last question for today is for you, Ulf. Has Husqvarna done any mass deployment in terms of IoT, or is limited to an MVP?
what I mean by MVP is basically to releasing new capabilities. So what we have done is that we have a huge amount of connected product on the market for the moment. We're talking about 100,000s of different products on the market for the moment. So yes, we have a huge deployment, and on these deployments, we are releasing services on the MVP basis. I don't know if that answered the question, but
Any questions I think that we didn't get around to today, or you feel that we didn't answer correctly or to the standard that you would have liked to, then they can be emailed to Sandeep or any members of the team, and we'll get back to you straight away. So I think that's going to end our questions and answers for today's session. Thank you to the speakers today, and thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar on how to win in the new world of IoT and connected products. Once you leave today's webinar, you'll receive a survey on the presentation. We'd appreciate if you could complete that and provide your feedback. We'll also receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with the link to view a recording of today's webinar. So on behalf of Sajedi and on behalf of our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Good morning.